For decades, Harley Davidson was the big dream. The sound, the power, the American spirit. It was more than a motorcycle. It was a lifestyle. But today, that dream is dying. Harley's most loyal customers, senior riders, are walking away. Sales have plummeted by over 50% in the past decade, and it is not just a slump, it is a full-blown collapse. So what happened? Is this just part of the natural cycle of aging riders, or has Harley Davidson lost its way? More importantly, can they fix this before it's too late? What's happening? The company assumed that brand loyalty was unbreakable. They thought that if someone loved Harley in their youth, they would always come back to it in retirement. That assumption was a costly mistake. Now, those same riders, many of whom dreamed of owning a Harley for decades, are walking away. The very people who built the brand's success are now its biggest problem. If older riders are no longer buying Harleys, the question is why? And for many, it starts with one unavoidable issue: the price tag. The cheapest new Harley on the market is the Nightster, which starts at $13,500. And that is the bare bones model. If you want a back seat or passenger pegs, that is another $1,500. Thinking of a full-size touring bike, the kind of machine most senior riders actually want? Expect to pay anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000 before dealer markups and customizations. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a retired rider. You spent decades dreaming about owning a Harley. You finally have the time to ride, but you are now living on a fixed income. Every dollar counts. And when you walk into the dealership, you see a $30,000 price tag staring back at you. Suddenly, that dream does not feel possible anymore. The problem goes beyond just Harley's pricing. The cost of living has exploded across the board. Housing prices are higher than ever. Medical expenses, including prescriptions and insurance, have become a major financial burden for retirees. Gas prices are volatile, making a large displacement motorcycle less practical than ever before. In the past, Harley understood this balance. The brand offered affordable entry-level models that let everyday riders join the Harley community without breaking the bank. But today, those options have vanished. The beloved air-cooled Sportsters, discontinued. The Dyna lineup, gone. Harley's cheapest bikes today cost as much as a new car. That is a deal breaker for many retirees. If given the choice between spending $25,000 on a new Harley or using that money for home repairs, medical bills, or savings, most riders are choosing financial security over their motorcycle dreams. And Harley is not doing anything to make that decision easier. But the affordability crisis is not the only issue. Even when riders can afford a Harley, many are asking, why buy new when used? Harleys are just as good. The used market dilemma. There was a time when owning a brand new Harley was a rite of passage. It was your reward for years of hard work. But today, there is almost no incentive to buy new because the used market is flooded with near-perfect Harleys for a fraction of the price. The biggest reason? Harley's own durability. Harley Davidson bikes are built to last. Unlike many other vehicles, they do not wear out quickly. A 10-year-old Harley still looks, sounds, and rides almost exactly like a brand new model. That creates a major problem for Harley, because when motorcycles last too long, riders do not need to replace them. This has led to a massive resale market. Senior riders looking for a Harley can easily find a low-mileage road glide or street glide for half the cost of a new one. Older Harley models are just as powerful and visually striking as current models. Private sellers offer thousands of dollars in savings compared to dealership prices. So why would anyone buy new? Harley has tried to counter this problem by offering dealer trade-in incentives and certified pre-owned options. But the reality is, experienced riders are not fooled. They know that buying from a private seller saves them thousands, and they are taking that route instead. Every time a rider buys used instead of new, Harley loses a sale, and this cycle is only getting worse. The more reliable Harley bikes remain, the less often riders feel the need to upgrade. In the past, Harley could count on brand new sales to drive revenue. Today, they are watching as their own past success slowly kills their future business. And this is not just about economics. It is about Harley's identity. If the company cannot sell new bikes to senior riders and younger riders are not buying in either, what happens to Harley's future? Let's dive into the core reasons why senior riders, the very foundation of Harley's success, are walking away. The dealership problem. Harley Davidson dealerships have increasingly adopted aggressive sales tactics, making the buying experience stressful rather than exciting. Sales staff push customers toward high-margin accessories, extended warranties, and unnecessary dealer-installed upgrades, making it nearly impossible to purchase a bike at its advertised price. Senior riders who have decades of experience with motorcycle pricing see through these tactics and refuse to overpay for things they don't need. The constant upselling makes buyers feel pressured, often leading them to walk away entirely rather than deal with an exhausting sales process. The Harley tax has become a major frustration for senior riders who remember a time when dealerships offered fair deals. Today, a motorcycle that should cost $25,000 can easily reach $30,000 after the dealership tax on hidden fees, premium add-ons, and inflated interest rates on financing. Harley dealerships have gained a reputation for being some of the worst offenders in price manipulation, and riders are taking notice. Many now see the entire dealership network as a middleman looking to extract extra money rather than a place built to support the riding community. Beyond pricing, there is a growing trust issue between Harley riders and dealerships. Older riders remember when dealerships were community hubs, places where bikers could gather, share stories, and feel like they were part of something bigger. Today, these same dealerships feel corporate and disconnected, prioritizing profits over relationships. Riders no longer see dealerships as allies in their motorcycle journey, but rather as businesses looking for the next upsell opportunity. This shift in perception has led many to avoid dealerships entirely, choosing instead to buy used from private sellers or explore alternative brands with more transparent pricing. But the problem doesn't stop at the dealership. Owning a Harley is more expensive than ever, and that is turning riders away. High maintenance, high costs, the ownership struggle. Buying a Harley Davidson is just the beginning of the financial burden. Keeping one on the road has become another major challenge, especially for senior riders who live on fixed incomes. Harleys have always been seen as premium motorcycles, but in recent years, maintenance costs have skyrocketed, making it harder for riders to justify the expense. Unlike other brands which offer cheaper replacement parts and easier maintenance, Harley Davidson has locked its customers into an expensive ecosystem. Many parts are proprietary and dealership exclusive, meaning riders cannot simply go to a third-party mechanic or order cheaper aftermarket replacements. Insurance costs have also become a major deterrent, especially for older riders. Harley Davidson motorcycles, particularly large touring models, come with some of the highest insurance rates in the industry. Senior riders, many of whom prefer these models for their comfort on long rides, are hit with massive premiums that make ownership even less affordable. For riders in their 60s and 70s, insurers classify them as higher risk even if they have decades of safe riding experience. This added financial burden makes some riders reconsider whether owning a Harley is worth it at all. Routine maintenance and repairs for Harley Davidson motorcycles are also substantially more expensive than for competing brands. The cost of an oil change at a Harley dealership can be double that of a comparable service for a Japanese or European motorcycle. Major repairs such as clutch replacements, belt changes, and engine work cost thousands of dollars due to labor-intensive procedures and dealership pricing. Riders who used to perform their own maintenance now find it harder than ever because Harley has designed its newer models to require specialized tools and dealership intervention. While other brands are offering low-maintenance motorcycles with longer service intervals, Harley Davidson remains stuck in an outdated model that forces riders into costly upkeep. Many senior riders who once viewed maintenance as part of the Harley experience are now looking elsewhere for motorcycles that require less effort and expense. But high costs alone aren't the only thing pushing riders away. Harley's exclusive culture has begun to alienate many of the riders who once embraced it. The culture shift. Is Harley still for the everyday rider? Harley's long-standing Harley-only culture is now working against them. Many senior riders feel that the company has become too focused on exclusivity, creating an environment where only Harley riders are truly accepted. The rise of Harley-only clubs, Harley-only rides, and dealership-sponsored events that exclude non-Harley riders has left many bikers feeling left out rather than welcomed. For a brand that was built on brotherhood and camaraderie, this shift has alienated some of its most loyal customers. The younger generation's rejection of brand loyalty cults has also added to the growing divide. Millennials and Gen Z riders who value inclusivity and diversity over rigid brand loyalty are actively avoiding the Harley community. Unlike older generations who grew up idolizing Harley Davidson, younger riders are less concerned with the brand name and more interested in performance, reliability, and value. This change in priorities has made Harley's traditional marketing and branding less effective, leading to a decline in younger riders joining the Harley culture. The generational divide is more apparent than ever. Older riders who have spent decades as part of the Harley community now see a culture that no longer feels as welcoming as it once was. Meanwhile, younger riders who might have been the brand's future feel completely uninterested in what Harley has to offer. As a result, the Harley Davidson community is shrinking, with fewer new riders replacing the older generation. If Harley Davidson wants to survive long-term, it cannot afford to ignore this cultural shift. The days of brand exclusivity and rigid community standards are fading, and if Harley wants to attract both older and younger riders, it must create an environment that feels open, inclusive, and inviting to everyone. But even if Harley Davidson can fix its culture, there's still one looming issue that threatens its future: the rise of better alternatives. Indian motorcycles. Harley Davidson's oldest rival is now its biggest threat. Indian Motorcycles, once an underdog, is now a serious contender for the title of America's top cruiser brand. What started as a niche comeback has transformed into a full-fledged challenge to Harley's dominance. Indian is not just competing with Harley, it is winning over its own customers. Indian has successfully balanced tradition with innovation in a way that Harley has struggled to do. While Harley has been hesitant to modernize its bikes too much out of fear of alienating its old-school riders, Indian has found a sweet spot. It keeps the classic American cruiser look and feel, but incorporates smarter engineering to make the ride smoother, more powerful, and more reliable. One of the biggest reasons India is drawing in former Harley riders is performance. Indian's Thunderstroke and Power Plus engines offer more horsepower and torque than Harley's Milwaukee 8. While Harley still relies on old-school air-cooled engines, Indian has embraced liquid cooling and advanced fuel injection, making its bikes run cooler and more efficiently. Riders who have experienced both brands say that Indian bikes feel more refined and less temperamental, without sacrificing that deep, rumbling V-twin sound that cruiser riders love. Beyond performance, Indians have been smart about giving riders more for their money. Many of Harley's best features, such as keyless ignition, ride modes, and rear cylinder deactivation, come standard on Indian models, while Harley makes riders pay extra for similar features. Indian has also kept its prices competitive, ensuring that riders feel they are getting real value for their money rather than just paying for a brand name. Another factor working in India's favor is trust. Harley Davidson has been criticized for abandoning some of its most iconic models, raising prices, and putting corporate profits ahead of rider loyalty. Indian, on the other hand, has built its reputation on listening to what riders actually want. Many former Harley riders say that Indian feels like the brand Harley used to be, before it lost touch with its core audience. With Indian's sales growing and Harley shrinking, a major shift in the American motorcycle market may already be happening. If Harley Davidson continues to make the wrong moves while Indian keeps expanding its lineup and improving its bikes, the once unthinkable scenario of Indian overtaking Harley could become a reality. Harley Davidson's biggest problem is not just Indian, it is the entire motorcycle industry evolving without them. The smart buyer's choice. Riders today have more choices than ever before, and many are realizing that Japanese and European brands offer better value, reliability, and technology. Japanese manufacturers like Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki have perfected the formula for affordable, low-maintenance cruisers. These brands have spent decades refining their engines, making them nearly bulletproof. Unlike Harley's air-cooled engines, which require frequent maintenance, Japanese cruisers often feature liquid cooling, fuel injection, and modern electronics that make them far more efficient and reliable. Affordability is another massive factor. A brand new Honda Rebel 1100 costs around $10,000, yet it offers powerful performance, modern technology, and a comfortable ride. Compare that to Harley, where even the cheapest models start above $13,000, and it is easy to see why many riders are choosing Japanese bikes instead. Even in the heavyweight cruiser segment, Honda's Goldwing delivers more comfort, better performance, and high-end features like an automatic transmission and a state-of-the-art infotainment system, all for less than a comparably equipped Harley touring bike. European manufacturers like BMW, Ducati, and KTM are also eating into Harley's market share, but they are doing it in a different way. Instead of competing directly with Harley's cruisers, they are offering motorcycles that are faster, more advanced, and more versatile. BMW's R18 is one of the few European bikes that directly competes with Harley, and it is gaining traction fast. It offers classic cruiser styling, premium German craftsmanship, and superior ride quality, often for less money than a comparable Harley. Ducati's Diavel provides a unique blend of cruiser comfort and sport bike performance, something Harley has never been able to match. KTM and Triumph, meanwhile, have capitalized on the adventure and touring market, which Harley attempted to enter with the Pan America, but failed to dominate. For many riders, Harley's biggest weakness is its outdated technology. While Harley has resisted making major changes to its lineup, companies like Honda and BMW are pushing the boundaries of what a motorcycle can be. Riders today expect advanced safety features, customizable ride modes, and modern electronics, and Harley simply has not kept up. The biggest issue for Harley Davidson is that its value proposition is fading. For decades, riders paid a premium for a Harley because it was seen as the ultimate American motorcycle. But now, riders can get better reliability, better performance, and better technology for less money from other brands. As a result, more and more riders are choosing to walk away from Harley and explore other options. The biggest question now is, can Harley turn things around? The problem is not just the competition, it is Harley itself. The company has refused to lower its prices, continued to abandon its most affordable models, and neglected key technological advancements that riders now expect. If Harley wants to survive, it must change its approach immediately. It needs to offer more affordable models, embrace modern engineering, and rebuild trust with its core audience. Otherwise, it risks becoming a niche luxury brand, one that only a wealthy few can afford, while the majority of riders move on to better alternatives. Now let's talk about Harley's last hope and its attempt to win over younger riders. Harley Davidson's struggles are not just about senior riders walking away. The bigger crisis is that younger generations never showed up in the first place. The very people who should be the future of the brand, millennials and Generation Z, are uninterested, unwilling, or simply unable to buy into the Harley lifestyle. This is not just a temporary sales slump, this is an existential crisis. The most obvious issue is affordability. Millennials and Generation Z have grown up in an economic landscape vastly different from previous generations. The average student loan debt in the United States exceeds $30,000, and home ownership is increasingly out of reach. With the median home price now over $400,000, younger consumers are not prioritizing expensive leisure purchases like motorcycles. Harley's cheapest new model, the Nightster, starts at $13,500, making it a hard sell when other brands offer more affordable options with better performance. For many young people, a motorcycle is not just a luxury, it is an unnecessary financial burden. But it is not just about money, it is also about image. Harley Davidson has long been associated with an older generation, and younger riders simply do not connect with the brand's aesthetic or culture. While millennials and Generation Z have embraced motorcycles in other forms, such as lightweight sport bikes and adventure bikes, the traditional heavyweight Harley cruiser does not appeal to them. Harley Davidson's marketing has failed to adapt to changing trends, still relying on nostalgia instead of embracing what younger consumers actually want. Some within Harley Davidson believe that a massive wealth transfer from baby boomers to millennials will eventually bring young riders back to the brand. But this assumption is dangerously flawed. Even if millennials inherit wealth, that does not mean they will suddenly want a Harley. This generation is more focused on financial security, home ownership, and sustainable transportation than expensive gas-powered motorcycles. If Harley is waiting for millennials and Generation Z to save them, they may be waiting forever. Harley's generational problem is not just a temporary trend, it is a long-term shift that could determine the company's survival. If they fail to adapt, they will soon find themselves without a future customer base. The failed reinvention. Harley Davidson has not been oblivious to its problems. The company has spent the last decade trying to reinvent itself, but every attempt has either backfired or failed to connect with its core audience. Instead of creating motorcycles that align with consumer demands, Harley has made desperate, misguided attempts to chase trends, alienating its loyal riders while failing to attract new ones. One of the most controversial moves was the introduction of electric motorcycles. The Harley Davidson Livewire was meant to be a revolutionary step toward the future, an attempt to modernize the brand and appeal to younger, eco-conscious riders. But the result was a disaster. At nearly $30,000, the Livewire was more expensive than most cars, and it lacked the very essence of what made Harley special: the loud, rumbling, air-cooled V-twin engine that riders loved. The Livewire was not just a flop, it proved that Harley had no idea what its audience wanted. Then came the Pan America, an adventure bike meant to compete with industry leaders like BMW and KTM. While the bike was actually well reviewed, it failed to establish Harley Davidson as a serious competitor in the adventure market. Harley riders were not interested in an off-road touring bike, and the people who were interested in adventure bikes already had better, more established options from European and Japanese brands. Harley's repeated failures stem from one fundamental issue: an identity crisis. Instead of refining what makes them great, Harley is trying to become something they are not. They want to compete with sport bikes, adventure bikes, and electric motorcycles, all while failing to realize that these are markets they cannot win. Riders who want performance, efficiency, or modern technology will always look elsewhere. The only thing Harley ever had was its unique identity, and now even that is slipping away. If Harley Davidson wants to survive, it needs to stop chasing trends and focus on strengthening its core appeal. Otherwise, every new reinvention will continue to drive the company further into irrelevance. The fork in the road. Harley Davidson is running out of time. The company is at a crossroads, and the decisions it makes in the next few years will determine whether it thrives or fades into obscurity. There is still a chance to turn things around, but it will require major changes, starting with pricing. The biggest issue Harley needs to fix is affordability. The brand has priced itself out of reach for the very people who should be buying its bikes. Harley must bring back mid-range, budget-friendly models that working-class riders can actually afford. Instead of focusing on high-end luxury touring bikes that cost as much as a new car, they need to reintroduce simple, reliable, and reasonably priced motorcycles. But affordability alone will not fix Harley's problems. The dealership experience has also become a major obstacle. Many customers feel taken advantage of by high-pressure sales tactics, excessive markups, and hidden fees. The so-called Harley tax, where dealerships add thousands of dollars in extra costs, needs to be eliminated. If Harley wants to win back trust, it must make the buying experience more transparent and customer-friendly. Harley also needs to reconnect with riders. The company has become more focused on appeasing shareholders than listening to its core audience. If Harley wants to survive, it must start prioritizing the needs of real riders instead of corporate profit margins. That means embracing the riding community, listening to customer feedback, and making motorcycles that are built for riders, not just for boardroom approval. The road to redemption is still open, but Harley needs to act fast. If they continue on their current path, they will not be able to reverse the damage in time. The final verdict. So, where does Harley Davidson go from here? If the company continues its current trajectory, the future looks grim. Sales are declining, younger riders are uninterested, and competitors are seizing every opportunity to steal Harley's market share. If nothing changes, Harley will eventually become a luxury niche brand, selling overpriced motorcycles to a shrinking pool of aging enthusiasts. But what happens if Harley collapses entirely? The motorcycle industry would change forever. Indian motorcycles could take Harley's place as the dominant American cruiser brand. Japanese manufacturers would continue to grow, offering affordable alternatives with better reliability. The days of Harley ruling the road would be over. There is still time for a comeback, but it will not be easy. Harley must cut costs, lower prices, improve the dealership experience, and stop chasing trends that do not align with its brand. More importantly, it must rebuild trust with riders who feel abandoned by the company. This is a do-or-die moment for Harley Davidson. The next decade will determine whether they remain an iconic force in motorcycling or fade into history as a brand that refused to evolve. So, what do you think? Can Harley Davidson make a comeback, or is this the beginning of the end? Let us know in the comments, and as always, ride safe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.